Yeah, so we are live, right? So we are live. Let me send this link. How do I share? Let me share this link to different persons. Yeah, so we are live, right? Everybody else in the live?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes.
so let me share it. Mhm. So we are live, we are live, we are live. All right, let me share it on Facebook. Hello, everybody, to those joining the live. I'm just sharing the link so that the other persons can join. Feel free to share this live with anybody sitting the Csec exam or anybody who may find this live useful. And persons who are also sitting this mock exam on Monday. Mhm. All right, in a few seconds, we will start live. So in the meanwhile, for those of you who are already on the live, you can type in the chat on YouTube which school you're from or where you're looking at us from. All right, so I see we have already 300 persons on the live. Good night, everyone. Good night, one. Good night, all. I think I shared it at all the different places that I wanted to share it. So I see Mike Coney, Barbies High, St. Kitts and Nevis, Diamond, Mays, Jaden is there with us, Christchurch. All right, so on the panel, we have students from across the different schools in Guyana. We have students all the way from Region 1. We have students from Region 2, or I think student from Region 2. And we have a few students from Georgetown. I think some of the schools would be Matthews Ridge, Port Kaituma Secondary, Matthews Ridge, Anna Regina, Central High, Queens College. Did I miss any? Suzaik Secondary, um, Nar Georgetown. Did I miss any? Yeah, so those are the students on the panel, and I am sorely unbeaten, and we will be taking you through this session. I trust that this session will be very beneficial and it will be one that you find very useful. I know you have the exam coming up on Monday, and this live is aimed towards helping you to prepare for that exam. So, for students on the panel, how are you feeling about the exam on Monday? Are you all ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right,
sir. Sir.
good. So, some of these students are in grade 10, majority of them are in grade 11. And yeah, so let's not waste any more time. I see we have about 500 students already on the live. Let's go. Let's head straight into the preparation. So this is how the live will work. We will project a question. We will take some time to look at it, and then you can work it along with us, or you can work it ahead of us, and then we'll go through. And you can also send your answer in the chat on YouTube. Remember to keep all your comments respectful. I don't want to ban anybody. All right, you're free to make jokes. What's that? But keep it respectful. So let's go. So let's head into the first question. So we'll start off nice and easy. You know how all CSEC exams tend to start off with a little bit of fraction here and there. So we have here, using the calculator and otherwise the beautiful device that's called the calculator. You all should be in possession of a calculator and you should know how to use this calculator very effectively. And don't change the calculator. If you have whatever calculator you have now, don't change it. Keep it until CSEC. So I'll start off and then I'll hand you over to some of the students when we reach to the various questions. So this one says, using a calculator or otherwise, find the exact value of. So you can probably work this one out quickly and then send your answer, whatever you got in the chat. So I see Fort Wellington, people are saying W, Roquan. All right, let's go. So we have 7 over 8 plus 1 over 6 divided by 2 over 9. So one mass is, so what you can do, you can actually punch this entire thing in your calculator and get the answer. So I'll do that first, and then I will work it with bond mass. So if I punch this entire thing in my calculator, 7 over 8 plus 1 over 6 divided by 2 over 9, I will actually get 1 and 5 over 8. And let's say if I use BODMAS and I do this step by step, I should get the same answer. So BODMAS says we should divide first. So we'll divide this here first. So we know when we are dividing, we will write back the first fraction, which is 1 over 6, and we will change the division to multiplication. And then we upturn the last fractions. This will be, instead of 2 over 9, this will be 9 over 2. And we could do some simplification. We see 3 can go into 6 and 9. So 6 divided by 3 would be 2. 9 divided by 3 would be 3. 1 times 3 would be 3. And 2 times 2 would be 4. So we have 3 over 4. And then this will be added to this fraction here, which is 7 over 8. And if I add 7 over 8, I know the LCM, the denominators are not the same, so therefore we must find the LCM. So the LCM would be 8, and 8 into 8 would be 1. I take that answer and I multiply it up here. So 7 times 1 is 7, plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. I take that and I multiply it up here. 3 2s, 6. So this will end up being 13 over 8, which is the same as 8 can go into 13 one time, which leaves us with a remainder of 5 over 8. So we already got that with our calculator, first of all. And these number one questions, these questions that ask you to use your calculator, otherwise you should be getting full marks because of this beautiful device, which is your scientific calculator. You should not be losing any marks with these kind of questions. All right, so I'm noticing almost everybody in the chat, they got the same answer. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, absolutely excellent. So the sad part about fraction questions is that CXC released their the 2024 subject report, and in mathematics, believe it or leave it, many students performed very poorly in the number one question that deals with fractions and so forth, very poorly. A lot of students scored 0, and I think the average was, I think, around 3 out of 9 or 2 out of 9 or something. So don't take these things for granted. So let's go. The next one. So we have to use our calculator and we are writing this correct to 2 decimal places. So what I will do first, so we have the square root of 226.8, subtract 2.5 raised to the 3 over 2 power. So once again, we'll have to use our calculator for this one. So you can probably punch this in a calculator and tell me your answer you got. Correct to 2 decimal places. If you're done before me, you can send it in the chat. So if I find the square root of 26.8, that would give me 5.176 and so on, and I round off to two decimal places, that will give me 5.18. Subtract. If I punch this in my calculator, which is 2.5 raised to the, and I put 3 over 2, that would give me a value of 3.95. And if I subtract 5.18, subtract 3.95, that would actually give me a value of 1.23 as the answer. So 1.23, as many persons sent in the chat. So that is correct. So we already, in your exam, you already start off with nice and easy free marks. I like to call these kind of questions because they are very simple. So this is one, depending on how this live goes, this will be one of probably 2 or 3 lives. So if you did not get this answer, make sure you double check, and you don't want to punch everything in your calculator just like this. I mean, you'll probably put this in some brackets, and then you subtract, and then you put this in another bracket, and then you punch it in the calculator. So that is a safe way to do it if you want to punch everything in your calculator just like that. If not, you do it piece by piece. I would advise that you do it piece by piece so that you definitely know you're on the right track. If you want to punch it everything in a calculator, no, just be careful. All right, don't worry, you'll get some more questions to work. All right, so I have this one. So I have expressed as a single fraction in the simplest form, and I'll ask one of my students to take us through this one. They will explain it, and then they'll read the question for us, and then. So somebody's asking a question, how do we get fraction power? That is a very good question. So sadly, I can't share my screen, but on your calculator, I have 2 calculators in front of me, the sharp one, and I don't know what it's called, this brand, but this is Kierda. So both of them, all of the calculators are very similar. So what you can do, let's say I want 5 raised to the 2 over 3 power. A safe thing to do would be you press 5 in your calculator first. And then on some calculators, you will have an upside down V, or on the sharp calculator, you will have y to the x power. This here will symbolize, you're raising something to a certain power. So you can either press the upside down V, or you can press the y to the x power. So I press 5, and then that. And then to be on the safe side, I'll open a bracket. And then I'll press 2 over 3. So it's 2, and then the fraction bar would be A, B slash C. This is how you get the fraction bar. So I press 2, A, B slash C, and then 3. And this is the same as 2 over 3. Then I'll close the bracket, and then I press equal, and that is how you get fractional powers on your calculator. So practice that on your own. You want to know all the functions in the calculator, know how to get all the functions. So Maya, I think you want to work this one. Go ahead, Maya.
Yes, sir. Good night, everyone. So the question says express as a single fraction in its simplest form. 1 bracket 1 minus bracket 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15. So the first thing you would have to do, according to BODMAS, is the brackets first. So how I work my fractions is I put down the 2 fractions, 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15. And I use the butterfly method. So you would draw a circle over 1 and 15, which indicates that you have to multiply those two together. And when you get that, you get 15, right? And you would draw another circle over 4 and 30. 4 times 30 is 120. So 15 plus 120 would give you 135. And to get the denominator, you would multiply the two denominators there, which is 30 and 15, and you would get 450. And now you reduce the fraction by using 5. So 5 into 135 is 27. And 5 into 450 would be 90. That can further be reduced using 9, and that would give you 3 over 10. We're not done there. We still have the whole number, which is 1. And as you know, the whole number would be equal to 10 over 10, since that's the denominator. So 10 over 10 minus 3 over 10 would give you 7 over 10. And that cannot be reduced further, so that's your answer.
All right, so very good, Maya. So Maya did it a way that I saw in a few places. So that this is one way you can work it as well. All right. So if you love the butterfly method, I think many in primary school you learn about the butterfly method. You can do that. Or a nice way we can do it as well is to once again utilize this beautiful tool that we call the calculator. You can just punch in your calculator 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15, and that will give you 3 over 10. And then you put 3 over 10, and then you cancel the calculator, and 1 subtract 3 over 10, and that will give you 7 over 10. All right, so that's another way you can do it as well, using your calculator. So I see one of the past stars from the live last year, Troy Roberts, is in the chat. Troy, glad to have you with us. All right, somebody's asking about 5 meters unnecessary work. Um, I mean, if you like it, you know, you can do it. But I as a student, I would not have used the butterfly method. I would just use the typical way, or I will use my calculator. But if you are like Maya and you are good with the butterfly method, feel free to do that. So let's carry on. So do we have anybody on the call on the panel that would like to work this one? Roquan, go ahead. Read the question and then tell us what you did.
Okay, sir. I don't know if I pronounce that name.
Mahindra.
Mahendra and Jaya shared. Mahendra and Jaya shared $7,224 in the ratio 7 to 5. How much more money does Mahendra receive than Jaya? Okay, sir. So there's two ways to do this. So I chose the simpler way, right, which is the faster way. Well, faster way for me. So first, we need to add up the shares, which is 7 plus 5.
So pause, Roquan. So what's the most important thing that you should when you're dealing with ratio? What is the most important thing you want to find first? The value of what?
How much is one share?
Excellent. So the most important thing that you want to find when you're dealing with ratio, regardless of the question, is the value of one share. So that's what Roquan is about to do. So go ahead, Roquan.
Yes, sir. So we add up how many shares, which would be 7 plus 5, which would equal to 12.
You have 12 shares in
And
total.
so then we then we divide 12 by 7,224, which would give us 604.
So this
And
604 represents what?
how much one share is equal to
Excellent.
how much, yeah. So I mean, I think most people would just individually multiply the shares by, well, multiply the shares like 604 by 7 or so, but like the faster we can do it is just to multiply 604 by 2, and that's your answer.
Yeah, because 7 and 5, there's a difference of 2 shares. So
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we just multiply 604 by 2, and that will give us
Wait, effort. Um, so 1,208
1,208. So
dollars.
so we can say, remember this question was in a statement, so we can say therefore Mahindra received 1,208 more than Jaya. All right.
Yes, sir.
So they're saying it's 604, not 602. Is that true? Let me check it back. So
Wait.
7,224 divided by 12. Yeah, it's 602 one.
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry. Miscalculation. My bad.
So hence this would be 602. So this would be
So, so
1,208.
yeah, so be 12,104.
All right, good.
My bad, sir. Sorry.
So
So sorry, everyone.
Roquan did that to make sure that everybody in the chat is paying attention.
Yeah. Good, good.
So
Yes.
we're happy to see that persons are paying attention and they actually worked it. So excellent chat.
Sure, gonna go for some water.
Good. So thank you, Roquan. Adir, you want to take the second one?
Alright, so we see the present population of Portmount is 550,000. It is expected that this population will increase by it all. So,
Read the question fully.
so it increased by 40% by the year of 2030, right? Number 550,000 standard form. Alright, so in order to write it to standard form, we just put the decimal outside of the number in the first between the two first non-zero digit numbers, and there will be 5.5, and we
Hold
move
on,
the
hold on.
decimal.
So what do we do? We move the decimal point. So standard form, what is the general form for standard form? So it's basically a multiplied by 10 raised to a certain power, right? This is what it should look like. And a would be a number greater than 1 but less than 10. And you're always multiplying by 10, and then this 10 is always raised to a certain power. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. All right, so we want to
Yes,
write this number in standard form. So Adir said the first thing we should do is, we don't see any decimal point, but we know what the decimal point is at the end here. Yes, Adir.
yes, sir. So the first thing we do, we carry the digit, the decimal that's outside in the first two set of non-zero digit. The
What?
non-zero numbers, so it will be 5.5, and we
So
move
we
it to the
jump,
left.
so we jump between
Yeah,
all these numbers and reach 5.5.
and we move it 5 times to the left, and that will be 5.5 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5. Yeah,
Why
so
the
if
power
we
of
move,
5?
because of the amount of times we move the decimal.
Yeah, there's the amount
Yeah,
of time we move the
it's
decimal.
yeah, just so clear, because it's a positive because we move to the left. If we move to the right, it will be a negative 5.
Good. So let's just say we had a number 0.00036, and we wanted to write this in standard form. What would this be, Adir?
Yeah, so we're gonna be 3.6.
So let's jump. So we jump 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd be 3.6.
Multiply by 10 to the negative 4th power.
Because we move 1, 2, 3, 4 times, so -4.
Yeah.
All right. So the folks that don't understand standard form, I have a couple of videos on my page about this in great detail, but the objective of writing a number in standard form is to put it in this form. A times 10, you're always multiplying by 10, raised to a certain power. The power that you're raising to depends on how many times you skip through the numbers. That would depend on hint that would tell you what power to raise the 10 to. And A is a number greater than 1 but less than 10. All right, the number must be greater than 1 but less than 10. So it can be 1 point something or it can be 9 point something. So that's it for that. The next one says So let me erase this. Who's continuing? So we're starting off with the number one type question and then we move on. Go ahead, Adir.
Yes, sir. So it says at the top that it is increased by 42%. So what we could go ahead and do is find 42% of the 550,000. So it will be 42% over 100
So percentage is out of 100.
multiplied by 550,000. So we could just cancel out the two zeros. And when we multiply straight across, we get 231,000. So the 231,000 is the increase in amount. So we add the increase in amount to the stable amount, which was 550,000. And we got 781,000. So the expected population in 2030 is 781,000. Yeah.
So we add these two. So this will be plus 231,000. We got how much? 781,000.
Yes, sir.
So that is how the population will grow. So yeah, and these are number one type questions once again. And based on the report that CXC released, students perform very poorly at these, right? So don't take these here for granted at all, at all, at all. They're very easy, but for some reason the average performance in number one type question is about 2 out of 9 or something like that, or 3 out of 9, which is very poor. So that is that for here. So percentage, percentage is always out of 100. Somebody's asking what year paper. So it's a combination of years, but it's over the last 5 years. It's a combination of years. So let's move on to some algebra. So recently I posted on TikTok that I posted a video of the different ways that a factorization question can come. So I think I have all three of these ways here. And do we have anybody on the call that would like to work this one beautifully? Go ahead, Bancroft. So
Good
read it
night,
in.
everyone. Factorize completely each of the following expressions. So this is a difference of two squares question already stated by you, sir. So obviously know that a square minus b square. Well, this is a part of it has to open bracket equal back to a minus b close bracket, another bracket, a open bracket, a plus b close bracket. So applying this pattern onto the question, sir. So we have to break this down now. One open bracket, one close bracket, square the bracket, sir. Minus open bracket 2h close bracket squared, sir. Now continue with the question, sir, following the same pattern. The final brackets are equal to open bracket 1 minus 2h close bracket. Second brackets are open bracket 1 plus 2h close bracket, sir.
All right. Very good. Very good. So very good. So this, as Bancroft said, this is a difference of two square. How do we know it's a difference of two square? Because there are some indications that we should look for. One, we have two terms. As long as you got two terms, your mind should be immediately go to the difference of two square. But it doesn't end there. Other than the two terms must be subtracting. So they must be subtracting. If they're adding, you cannot do the difference of two squares. Because difference means to subtract. So two terms, they must be subtracting. And the last thing is that they must be squared terms. What do we mean by squared terms? We mean if you multiply, for example, if you multiply a number by itself, you should get back 1. So we know if you multiply 1 by 1, that will give you 1. So that is a squared term. 1 is a squared number. And the same thing goes for 4h squared. If you multiply 2h by itself, 2h by 2h, that will give us 4h squared. So that is a squared term there. So to do difference of two square, as Bancroft excellently did and excellently explained, we ask ourselves, what is the square term? What number can we multiply by itself to give you 1? We know that is 1, so we put a 1 there and put a 1 there. Then we ask ourselves, what term can we multiply to give us 4h squared? We put that term there, which is 2h, and we put 2h here. And in one bracket, you add, and in the other bracket, you subtract. It doesn't matter with the order. You can put add first and then subtract, or you can put subtract and then add. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that one bracket will add and the other will subtract. All right. So well done, Bancroft. The second one. All right. I see Waddle. Waddle, go ahead.
Hey, good night, everyone. So this expression here at I reads PQ minus Q square minus 3P plus 3Q. So we have four terms in this expression, so we can start first by pairing them and put a bracket at the first two and at the second two. Then we look to find which is the common term in the first bracket. And in the first bracket, the common term there is Q.
Hold on, Waddle. Let me just do this thing quick. I'm having some issues. Yeah, continue.
Start over, sir, or
No,
continue
you
from where
can
I'm at?
start over. Sorry, I had a call and it kind of break the
Okay,
thing.
so this expression here has four terms. So we can first start by pairing them off, which we put the first two term in bracket and the second two term in another bracket. And the next thing we're going to do is look for the common term in the first bracket, and the common term there is Q.
So the common term, or we say the common, what do we say? The common term or the
Um,
common factor, or the highest common
oh,
factor?
correct, sir. Yes,
Good.
correct. So the common highest factor there is Q. Well, 1Q, but we put Q and we open brackets. And since the first term there we have PQ, since we have Q outside, it cancels that Q in the first one. So now you only left back with P. So you put a P in the bracket, put back the sign, and Q into Q square will give you Q. So you have Q open bracket P minus Q close bracket.
So it's like if we got minus q squared, and when we factor out, we're actually dividing. So when we divide by q, this q will cancel to one of the q, so there's we left back with minus q. All right, good.
Right. Then we open a second bracket a bit away from the first one. The rule says whatever is in the first bracket is in the second bracket, but we'll still do the working to confirm it. So the common highest factor there would be 3, so we put the 3 outside.
Pause. So there's a big important sign here. There's an important sign. Signs is before say a factor, right?
So
So
usually I go with the number, then the sign. But okay, we can put a sign first. And we can go with the negative sign because that one governs that entire thing there. So we go with negative 3.
we factor the negative, and then we see 3 is the highest
Correct.
common number.
And we see 3 into 3p. So 3 cancels 3, and you leave back with p, a positive p, plus, no, p, sir, p, you put 3. Right. Plus, instead of plus now, we see we have a negative sign out there with the 3. So we would have to put something next to that p. So give us back that addition sign that is up there in the expression. So in this case, we'd have to put a negative sign after the p. And then we put q because negative 3 into positive 3q would leave us with negative q. And now we go further, we write back the term that is in one bracket, which is p minus q. And in another bracket, we write the ones that are outside, which would be q minus 3. And that is it.
Very good. So very good. So a tip, as Brandon said, if you want to make sure that you're going correct, you can do some distributive law to make sure you get back what is at the top here. So for example, here we have negative 3p plus 3q. So if you do the distributive law, negative 3 times p would give us negative 3p. And then if you multiply negative 3 times negative q, a negative times a negative would give us a positive. And 3 times q would give us 3q. So we know we are going correct when we do that. So that is a way that you want to check as Brandon raised in his explanation. All right. So this is the second one. And then we have the last one, the last way in which a factorization question can come. All right. I see. Let me hear from let me hear from Ramnarine. Ramnarine was explaining on the earlies. Go ahead, Ramnarine.
Okay, good night, everyone. So the expression says 5x squared minus 9x plus 4. So as we can see here, this is a quadratic expression in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So the method that we can use to factorize this is the AC method. So the first thing that we're going to do is to identify A, B, and C. So A would be equal to 5, B would be equal to -9 because the minus sign is governing the 9, and C would be equal to 4. So now the next step is to find two numbers that multiply to give you the product of A times C, which would be 20. And also those two numbers, when added, they have to be equal to B, which is -9. So my two numbers that I'm going to use are -5 and -4, because -5 times -4 would give you +20, and when added, it's going to give you -9. So now that we've identified our two numbers, the next step is that we're going to substitute these two numbers in place of B. So we're going to rewrite the expression 5x squared, and we're going to substitute -5. So it would be 5x squared minus -5x.
Minus 5x.
Yeah, 5x.
Good.
Yeah, sorry about that. And minus 4x because it's a -4 plus 4. And that will be our new expression. So now we can factorize this now by grouping. So we're going to put the first two terms into brackets and the last two terms into brackets also. And now we're going to factorize this by finding the greatest common factor in the brackets for each group. So for the first bracket, the greatest common factor would be 5x. So you're going to put 5x, open bracket, x minus 1, because x will be remaining. We put back the sign, and 5x into 5x would be equal to -1, would be equal to 1. And then the next thing we do, we find the greatest common factor in the other bracket, which would be, we're going to put back the sign, the minus sign, and we're going to put the greatest common factor, which is 4. Open bracket, and we're going to be left with x minus 1 also. And that's how we know we're going correct, because our brackets are the same. So now we're going to group them back into brackets. So it would be first bracket 5x minus 4, and the next bracket will just be x minus 1.
All right, excellent. And this is how you factorize a quadratic. So once again, if this one kind of trouble your spirit the wrong way, you can probably go on my channel and just go to AC method. I have like 4 videos on the AC method factorizing. So you want to do that after this live to make sure that come Monday, you're in a good position, right? You're in a good position to answer these kind of questions. It's very easy, giveaway marks almost. So AC method, identify A, B, and C, multiply A by C4, that's why it's called the AC method. And then you want two numbers. When you multiply, you should get the AC, as Ramnarang said. When you add those two numbers, you should get B. You want to involve B as well. You don't want to leave B out. All right? You don't want to leave B outside by itself. B should be involved in the gathering. And then you work it out, and then you do some substitution and replace the BX term, which is in this case -9. So once again, I'll advise that you Go check out those videos. So with that being said, let me just bring down this answer here. Because we'll need this to answer this one. All right, Ramnarayan, since you're on the floor, finish off this question.
Sure, sir. So when they say hence solve the following equation, that just means we're going to use the work that we already did from before to solve the equation. So what it's essentially saying is that 5x minus 4 would be equal to 0, along with x minus 1 would also be equal to 0. So we can write those two equations separately. So we will have 5x minus 4 equals 0. So in order to find the value of the unknown, which is x, we're going to have to remove the 4 by carrying it over the equal sign, which would then make the 4 a positive 4. So now we can rewrite it by saying 5x is equal to positive 4. Now the next thing we want to do is to isolate the x. 5 is multiplying x, so in order to isolate it, or in order to remove the 5, we're going to have to divide. So it's going to be 5x divided by 5, and 4 will also be divided by 5. So the two 5s will cancel out for 5x, and that will be x is equal to 4 over 5. So that's the answer for that bracket. Now we move on to the other side. We're going to write x minus 1 is equal to 0. And now we do the same thing. We're going to carry the -1 over the equal sign, which will change it, and therefore making it a positive 1. So that is just our answer. X is equal to 1. And so our final answer would be x is equal to 4 over 5, and x is equal to 1.
Very good, Ramnarayan, very good. So the thing about solving quadratics is just a step further from after you factorize, you just equate the two brackets to 0 and you solve. And then there's another way in which we can use the quadratic formula, but we won't do that. No need to do that in this case, because this question here would probably be worth 1 mark because they expect you to use the answer at the top to answer the question. They don't expect you to use the quadratic formula. That is as if you want to, using the quadratic formula for this question is as if you have a roach, you want to kill a roach, and you go and look for a very big wood outside, and the roach is on the wall, and you lash up all over on the wall to kill the roach. It's a lot of work. You may kill the roach, but you would, waste a lot of time. So you want to use what you did at the top. So this one. So we're done with factorization. These are all the ways that a factorization question can come. So the other thing that we want to touch on would be some proportion, some relation. So anybody want to tackle this one? Read it and then tackle it? I don't know what is coming. C Prasad. I'm just going over the topics based on whatever can I advise you, these are the questions. These are the topics that will be coming, so you want to ensure that you're solid with these areas. All right, so this one says, the height h of an object is directly proportional to the square root of its perimeter p. They want you to write an equation showing the relationship between h and p. So this one, h is directly proportional. That is the important term there, directly proportional. So there are two types of proportion, or two types of, there's another way they can talk about it. Directly proportion varies directly. There are two ways in which these questions can come. They can ask you, they can either tell you it's directly proportional or it's inversely proportional or varies inversely. So when it's directly proportional, that is nice and easy work, light work. So to write an equation to represent direct proportion, in this case, we have h is directly proportional. So this would be h is equal to, now you always put k. K K is always there. So it's K multiplied by, and it says the square root of P. So K multiplied by the square root of P. And that is how you represent that as an equation. Direct proportion, it's K multiplied by something. So for example, if I want to represent, let me just give another one. A is directly proportional to the cube of B. If you want to represent something like that, I will say A is equal to K, you always have K, multiplied by, since it's directly proportional, the cube of B, so this will be B cube. So you're always multiplying by K. So let me just erase that piece. So that is how you represent this here. This will probably go for 1 mark. So where the K come from? Now the K is always there. The K is the constant of proportion. The K is how you relate the H and the P. So it's always K multiplied by something. All right? It's always K multiplied by something. So K is always there. K is the constant. Constant meaning it doesn't change. So when you find the value for K in a question, that will be the value for K throughout that entire question. So the next one says, so we have to use this equation at the top here. So given that H is equal to 5.4, when P is equal to 1.44, determine the value of H when P is equal to 2.89. So we have the relationship at the top here. We have the equation that represents the relationship. So we write it back. H is equal to K multiplied by the square root of P. So the first thing you want to do with these kind of questions, you want to find the value of K. K is a constant. K doesn't change. So you need to find the value of K. So they give you a value of H and a value of P. So you use these two values to find the value of K. So they said when H is equal to 5.4, P is equal to 1.44. So we use those two values to find for K. So this would be 5.4 is equal to K multiplied by the square root of P, which is 1.44. So this would be 5.4 is equal to K multiplied by, if we take the square root of, 1.44, that would give us 1.2. And then to find for the value of K, we just take over this 1.2 since it's multiplied, and we take it over, it will divide. So this will be 5.4 divided by 1.2, and that will give us the value of K. So we punch it in the calculator, 5.4 divided by 1.2, that would give us K being equal to 4.5. So this is our value for K. That is not the answer. The question now says determine the value of H when P is equal to 2.89. So we use back the same equation, which is H is equal to K multiplied by the square root of P. And now we have our value, we have a value for P, and we have our value for K, because that value for K would not change. That value for K would not change, so hence H should be equal to K, which we just found, which is 4.5, multiplied by the square root of 2.89. And once again, we use our beautiful calculator. So the square root of 2.89, that would give you 1.7. And 1.7 times 4.5. The square root of 2.89 will give us that. And then multiply that by 4.5. That would give us H being equal to 7.65. And that is the answer. And that is how we do direct proportion. So this one. Anybody on the screen want to tackle this one? So this one is a nice and easy substitution. Anybody that did not go as yet? All right, so I see Amber. Amber, read it and then you're free to answer. Take it out.
Good night, everybody. So the quantities F, M, U, V, and T are related accordingly to the formula F equals M open bracket V minus U close bracket over T. The first question asks, find the value of F when M equals 3, U equals -1, V equals 2, and T equals -1. So the first thing you have to do is substitute the values. So F equals M, which is 3, open bracket, 2 minus -1 all over 1. Close bracket minus -1.
All over 1, right?
So because this is all over 1, you just need to find the answer at the top, and that's going to be an answer. So you have to multiply using this distributive law, and you get 9.
All right, so 2 minus -1, I would turn into a plus. It's 2 plus 1, which is 3. And 3 times 3 would indeed give us 9 as Amber, right? We said 9 divided by 1 is the same as 9. So well done, Amber. Good. 9 is the answer. All right, hold on, Amber.
Make
How we
me the
look?
subject.
Hold on, Amber. How we looking, chat? How we looking? You cooking or you cook for this mock exam? You cook or we cook? You still use cooking in 2026? I don't know. I'm trying to keep up. Anyways, are you eating or you being eaten? Yes, Amber, go ahead.
To make V the subject.
So
So
let me
you
write
write
back
back
the
your
question for us. So
yeah.
mm-hmm.
You do that.
Good.
So now, first things first, we get rid of the denominator, which is t. And to get rid of t, we move it over the equal sign, and it's dividing there, so it's going to multiply. So it's going to be t, f times t equals m open bracket v minus u close bracket. And now the second thing, m is multiplying the whole thing v minus u. So we move m also across over the equal sign, and it's multiplying here, so it's going to divide on the other side. So your new formula is going to be ft over m equals v minus u. Now remember, making v the subject, so now the last thing you have to do is just move u over the equal sign, and it's minusing over here, so it's going to add on the other side. So ft over m plus u equals v. It's the same thing on either side. I personally like to move v on the left-hand side because you're reading going this way. So it doesn't make a difference regardless, but that's your answer. Anyway, bye-bye.
So you can say V is equal to FT plus U over M. So well done, Amor. Well done. Very good. Excellent. 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 So that is how you change, that's how you make V the subject of the formula. All right, so we cooking for changing the subject. Somebody's asking if this can help them to buy a Benz. I don't know if it can help you to buy a Benz, but it can help you to put you in a position to buy a Benz. Right? It can put you in a position to buy a Benz. I can ask you as stop you from being robbed when you're buying the Benz on hire purchase. All right, so that is that for that one. So we have some inequalities now. Now the beauty about inequalities, when you want to solve any inequality, I would always tell anybody, you solve it just like how you solve a normal equation, just that you have an inequality sign, which would be these signs. You just solve it just like how you solve a normal equation. All right. Let me take this one. Let me take these two, and then I'll take somebody else just now. So we have 3x minus 1 is less than 11, and we want to solve this here. So as I said, you solve this just like how you solve an equation. So we have 3x minus 1. So we take over this minus 1 and it will become plus 1. So we'll have 3x is less than 11 plus 1, which should be the same as 12. And then the 3 is multiplying the x. When we take it over, it will divide. So we'll have x is less than 12 divided by 3. Hence, x will be less than 12 divided by 3 would be 4. So x is less than 4. All right, so that is the answer for that. That will probably go for like 1 mark. And this one here would probably go for like 1 mark as well, or 2 marks if CX is feeling generous. This one says 2 is less than or equal to 3x minus 1. So the same rules will apply, the same thing. So many students tend to debate which one do we take over. Do we take over the 3 or do we take over the minus 1? Now, let me ask this question to the students on the panel. How do you decide which number or which number to take over first? Anybody can jump in. This is something that students are always debating in the mind. Some students. How do we decide, do we take over the 3 or the minus 1? How do you decide that when you're working these questions?
Sir, the number that is doing the most to the equation, or, well,
Most?
like, I don't know how to put it. Wait.
All right,
That
go ahead, Adir.
Yes, sir. So you just move the number that doing something to the whole equation, or the like both terms.
So the one that is doing something. So for example, this 3 is just multiplying this x alone. But this 1 here is minusing everything, the whole 3x. So that is how we, all right. So that is how we decide that, this 3 is just leaving the x, the 1 is multiplying everything. So we carry over the minus 1, so we'll have 2. When we carry over this minus 1, become 2 plus 1 is less than or equal to 3x. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is less than or equal to 3x. And then we carry over the 3 is multiplying the x. So we take it over, it will divide. So we'll have 3 divided by 3 is less than or equal to x. Hence, 1 is less than or equal to x. And that is the answer there. All right. Cooking chat, you cooking?
Cooking with gas, sir.
All right, cooking with gas. So this one now, represent the solution to a, well, let me scroll up, let me zoom out a little. So it says represent the solution. 3x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 2, and then 3 is also less than 11. So you want to represent this as a solution. The thing is, we actually solve this inequality at the top here, right? When we did this work. But let's just say, for some reason, let's just say for some reason we did not realize that we solved the inequality already. Let's just say for some reason we didn't realize that we already solved it. Let's just solve it again, as though we never solved it. So let me just write this back. So 3x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 2, 11. So let's just say, we had to solve this just from here. So what do we do? The thing is, we solve this just because we solve normally, but just that we have to do it at the same time. So for example, the first thing you want to take over is this minus 1. We know when we take that over the inequality, it will add. But here's the thing. Do we take the minus 1 over on this side, or do we take it on this side? The thing is, we got to take it over on both sides. So this will actually become 3x is less than or equal to, and we take over this minus 1 over here to become 1 plus 1. And then also we got to take over the minus 1 over on that side as well. We can't take it on one side alone, both sides. So this will be 2 plus 1 as well. So hence this will be 3, and then 3x is less than or equal to 1 plus 1 is 2. Did I say we solved it just now? Actually, we didn't. So this is actually a different something. Yeah, so we actually got to solve it again. So we solve. So the 3 is multiplying the x. We take over the 3. Where we take it over, we know it will divide. So we take it over on both sides again. So it's 11. Oh, yes. It's 11. It's 11, not 1. My bad. So this will be 12. I see a lot of courses are sharp with it. I'd say ask spam 11. Good. Excellent. So this will actually be 11 plus 1, which is 12. So then we solve. We take over the 3 over on both sides. So the 3 is multiplied the x, and we take it over on both sides, we'll divide. So this will be 3 divided by 3. And the x is left. And then the 12 divided by 3. So this will be 1. So x is greater than or equal to 1. X is less than or equal to 4. But we already solved this at the top, right? We already solved it at the top, but, just say, let's just say in your paper or in your year for CXC, they did not give you this step at the top to do. This is how you solve an inequality, at the same time. When you have two different inequalities, you take it over on both sides. Somebody said, when will the life end? I trust that you don't have the same attitude in your exam. When will the exam end? What time will the exam end? The exam will finish when you are finished with the exam. The same way, we will finish in life when we're done with the questions that we have. I gotta pray for these generations. Okay, so let's go. So how do we represent this on the number line? So we have greater than or equal to, and we have less than. Now the equal to, so this is saying x is greater than or equal to 1. So what do? We go over 1, and we draw a circle. So because it has this equal to part at the bottom, we must shade this circle and make it a solid circle. That is telling you that this 1 is included in the solution. And it also said x is less than 4, not less than or equal to, less than 4. So we go to 4 and we draw a circle. But in this case, we do not shade the 4 because it just has less than. There's no equal to at the bottom, just less than alone. So to represent this solution now, we just connect these two circles. And that is how you represent the solution on the number line. Delay the exam to next Tuesday. So that is how we represent solutions to a number line. When it's more than and equal to or less than or equal to, we shade it. When it's just more than or less than, we don't shade the circle. So let's carry on to another one. I think Danielle will work this one. So we have this line here. So Danielle, the floor is yours. Now is your time to cook. So
Thank you,
Danielle will
sir.
take our two.
Thank you, sir. Good night, everyone. I'll be solving this question. The question asks us to write the equation of the line L in the form y is equal to mx plus c. Now, we have a lot of variables, but for a question asking us to write the equation of a straight line, we don't really care about the y and the x value. Those two variables represent any 2 points on the line. The m and the c value, however, is what we care about. The m represents the gradient of the line, and the c represents the y-intercept of the line. Sometimes CXC may not give you it like this. CXC may ask you to simplify it. The gradient is always the coefficient of the x value. Now, we could find either one anytime, doesn't matter, but let's find the y-intercept. Now, the y-intercept is the point where the straight line crosses the y-axis. In this case, it crosses at 1. So C would be equal to 1. Now, for the m value or the gradient, there are several ways that you could do it. But the easiest way when you're given a graph is to find the rise over the run. When we speak of rise, we speak of the horizontal rise, as in going up to down. And when we speak of the run, we speak of the vertical run, which is from right to left. Now, the first thing you need to do is you need to pick two nice points on the graph. You don't want anything in between. A nice point is 3x and y2. 3y, and another nice point is 6x, y3. Now what we need to do is we look at the lower point first, and we count how many big squares or how many units it moves to the right. If it moves to the left, it would be negative, but in this case, it's moving to the right.
Right. So rise, you go up.
Yes. So if we count the run first, we
Right.
move count the
Count the
rise.
rise first, yeah.
Okay.
Rise over.
We need to count how many squares, how many units up it takes for the bottom point to connect with the second point. In this case, it's 1 because if you count 1, it's on the same axis. So our rise value is 1. Now, run is the exact same thing except from right to left, as I said. So we count starting from the bottom point to the second point. And you can see it jumps 1, 2, and 3 times. So our run value is 3. Now what we do is we just substitute into the equation, which we would get y is equal to 1 over 3 x plus 1. And that is the equation of this line.
Excellently explained, Daniel. Excellently explained. Right? Yeah, I think Daniel cook or did Daniel cook? Yeah, I think chat.
Sir, he slid.
Sorry, Daniel,
Why
cook with
say
that.
Daniel? All right. Well, honestly, teenagers, sometimes I find it very funny the way we communicate. Somebody said Daniel low-key tough. Daniel kind of tough. Anyways, kids. So yeah, excellently done, Daniel. Well done, well done. Well done, well done. Well done, well done. All right. Let me send something in the chat. All right, so that was that. So Daniel, number 2 for you as well.
Okay, sir, thank you. So we are given an equation of a straight line for another line q, which is y is equal to negative 2x plus 8. We are asked to write down the coordinates of the point where q crosses the x-axis. So if we look at the little graph above us, we would see that any point, any where the line touches on the y-axis, the value of x is 0. And it's also the same for the x-axis as well. So we're asked for the coordinates of the x-axis. So we can assume the y value to be 0 because anytime the line crosses the x-axis, any point on the x-axis, the other value is always 0. So what we do is we know that y is equal to 0, so we could just substitute 0 into the equation for y, where y is. So we get 0 is equal to negative 2x plus 1. And now it's transposition. You could bring the positive 1 over the equation, over the equal sign, and you get negative 1 is equal to negative 2x. And now we do the same for the negative 2, but this time it's multiplying, and the inverse of multiplication is division. So it would be negative 1 over negative 2 is equal to x. And we have two negatives, so they would just cancel out. So x is equal to half. 1 over 2, and as a decimal, that's 0.5. So now we are asked to write down coordinates. Wait, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong equation is straight line.
What is that? The equation of a different line?
Eh,
Oh my, yes, yes. So Daniel, so this should be 8, right? Yes, 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 my bad.
yes,
So this
so
should
that
be
would
8, and this
be
should be
negative
8. So
8
this is the one that we're
for
using,
negative
right?
2. And that would simplify down to 4.
So negative 8, negative 2x. This would be negative 8 over negative 2 is equal to x, hence x will be equal to, the negatives will cancel out, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So
Yes,
we use the wrong equation.
the learning process. Yes.
So finish it off now.
So we know our x value and we know our y value, which is 0. The first value in the ordered pair is the x value, so it will be x, comma 0. It will be 4, comma 0.
Yeah, so here's the thing, folks. So x, y would be the coordinates. That's how you represent the coordinates. So we found the x value to be 4. So this would be 4. And earlier we found the y value to be 0. So it would be 4, 0. So this is how you represent, that is how you write down the coordinates. All right.
Yes.
So well done. All right.
It's 2p.
All right. Daniel wants to finish it off. So go ahead, Daniel. The last one.
So looking at the equation, you don't really need to do any mathematics here because the equation gives you the y-intercept, which in this case, our y-intercept is positive 8. So we know the value of where the line touches the y-axis. And what I said before is that when you know one value for the intersection, the other one is always 0. So it would be 0, comma 8. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. So Daniel did these three here. So Daniel raised some excellent points for the x-intercept, or where the line crosses the x-axis. We equate y to 0. Y is equal to 0. Y is always equal to 0 then. And for the y-intercept, this is where the line crosses the y-axis. X is equal to 0. So that is something that you want to remember, right? That is something you want to remember. So let me ask some questions. Let me ask some questions now. Let's take this a bit further. So let's just say we had this equation, y equal negative 2x plus 8. And let's just say now they told us that, let me see if I can let me carry this up a bit. So let's just say they told us that another line is parallel to this line. They told us another line is parallel to this line, is parallel to this line. Now, the thing about parallel lines, somebody tell me, somebody on the chat, not in the chat, well, in the chat as well. Let me ask the chat. Let's see how smart the chat is. Chat, tell me something about the relationship between parallel lines and their gradient. Forces in the chat. Parallel lines and the gradient. What is the relationship between two parallel lines and their gradients? Let me see who will get the force and we'll call them out. We'll shout out their names. Well, their name. Parallel lines and their gradient. It has the same gradient. So that is the first person I saw was Bisoon Dayal. Oh gosh. Bisoon Chevy Bisoon Dayal 443. So Bisoon Dayal, excellent. All right, they have the same gradients. The gradients are equal. All right. So a line parallel to this here and passes through the point, let's say 3, 2. Pass through the point 3, 2. All right, let's say 3, 2. And they want us to write the equation of that line. Two lines that are parallel. The line is parallel to this line and it passes through 3, 2. So once again, we know the equation of the straight line is y equal mx plus c. So as Danielle said earlier, the important values that you want to find or the important things in the equation of the straight line would be the gradient and the y-intercept. Those are the two main things you want to find. We don't care about x and y because those two can represent any points on the line. So they told us that it passes through 3 and 2. So in this case, we know the x value here is 3 and the y value here is 2 at this specific point. And we also know the gradient. We know the gradient because they said it's parallel to this. So the gradient in this case is -2. So to find our value for c, we do some substitution. So we'll have y in this case, which is equal to 2, is equal to the gradient, which is -2, times the y-intercept, which is, sorry, not the y-intercept, times the x value, which is 3, plus c. And then we work this out. So this will be 2 is equal to -2 times 3. That will give us a -6 plus c. And hence, we take over the -6. It becomes +6. So we'll have 2 plus 6 is equal to c. Hence, c would be equal to 8. So the value of the y-intercept here is 8. So we have the y-intercept and we have the gradient. So the equation of this line that is parallel to here and passes through the point 3, 2 would be y is equal to the gradient, which is -2x plus 8. How did I get the same answer? Did I use the same line? Did I use the same line? Let me see. 3, 2. Actually, yeah, it's the same line. My, oh my. But yeah, that is the concept though. That is the concept. Right? That is the concept. So I actually use the same line, which is a mistake. But yeah, that is the concept there. As long as it told you the line is parallel, we know that we know the gradient of the parallel line. All right. So let's just say I have a gradient of -5, and they told me another line is perpendicular to this line. What is the gradient of the line that is perpendicular to this line that has the gradient of -5? Perpendicular. Let me see who's the first person in the chat to give me this answer. The line is perpendicular to this line and it has a gradient of -5. Let me see who in the chat and I'll call that person name. Perpendicular. Adir from this in the chat. All right, so we have some fancy names. My lonely Reaper. I'm sure that is not your real name. Lonely Reaper. He, whoever you are, that is correct. So it's a negative reciprocal. So that means this will turn to positive and we flip this. So this would be 1 over 5. All right. So 1 over 5. So that is correct. All right. So let's carry on now. So let's move on to some statistics. So we touched on computation. We touched on algebra factorization. We touched on some geometry. Now let's touch on some statistics. Anybody here that did not go as yet and you would like to tackle this one? Adasa, go ahead.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. So the question said state the modal class. So we know that the mode is the number that occurs the most. So when we look through the frequency column, we see that 30 is the most number. So therefore, the modal class will be 4.4 less m less than or equal to 5.3. Yes.
All right, so this was here, correct? All right, continue, Hadassah. So hold on, let me before you continue, Hadassah. So mode would be the one that occurs the most, and that is the one with the highest frequency. In this case, it's 30. So this will be the modal class interval. All right, that is straightforward. That's Hadassah. Read and then answer the question. Finish the table.
Okay, so it says complete the table below and calculate an estimate of the mean mass of 120 newborns. So for the midpoint, in order to find the midpoint, we add, well, in this case, 6.2 plus 5.3, and we divide it by 2.
And that will give us what?
5.75. And then we multiply it by the frequency, and we get 166.75.
0.75?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay, and for the next one, we have 8.0 and 7.1. So we add those two and we divide it by 2. And our midpoint is 7.55. And then we multiply it by 8. And we get 60.4.
All right. So pause there, Hadassah. So folks, to get the midpoint, we just add the two end numbers, and as it says midpoint, you just divide it by 2. Nothing big and fancy there. All right, nothing big and fancy. And for the frequency times the midpoint, we just multiply this times this, and we get this answer. Nothing too big and fancy there. All right, nothing too big and fancy. Yes, Hadassah. Estimate the mean for us now.
Oh, yes, sir. So the mean will be sigma fx over sigma f. So we just total up the frequency and we total up fx.
All right, so for those of you, sigma means the sum of everything. So this is basically the sum of fx. So you just add up all of this. That is what the big fancy sigma means, right? You just add up all of these numbers here for f of x, and that would give us what?
That would be 120.
When we add up all of this,
Oh, no. 145. That would give us 651.3. Yes. And for
Good.
the frequency, we have 120.
So the mean would be 651.3 divided by 120. So hence the mean would be
We divide those two and we got 5.4275. So we could just round it off to one decimal place. Yeah, 5.4.
let's do two decimal place, 5.42,
275. So 5.43.
5.43. So the mean is 5.43. All right. Good. And that is that. So the mean just the sum of f of x divided by the sum of f. So in order to find the mean, first of all, you must add up f of x, this part here. If you don't have that part in the table, you gotta find f of x and then you add it together. So in order for you to find the mean from a frequency table, you must have the sum of f of x and the sum of f. Nice and easy marks there for you. All right, this one says, one newborn is chosen at random from the hospital. Find the probability that the newborn has a mass greater than 5.3 kg, greater than 5.3 kg. So the probability that if you pick a newborn at random, which is weird, but if you pick a newborn at random, the probability that they have a mass greater than this. So we know the total number of newborns would be 120. So this here has to go out of 120. It can't go higher than that. So the probability that if we choose a newborn and they have a mass greater than this. So we see 5.3 is right here. So greater than 5.3 would be all the numbers that fall here, all the newborns that fall here. So all we need to do, we need to add the corresponding frequency for those newborn, for those masses. So this would be 29 plus 28, 29 plus 28 plus 8. That would give us 65. So 65, the probability that is greater than that is 65 over 120. And we know, of course, we can't leave that just as it is. We can break that down further. 65 divided by 5 would give us 13. 120 divided by 5 would give us 24. So that can go further. So it would be 13 over 24. So 13 divided by 24 will give us 0.54 and so on. But we can leave it as 13 over 24. So we can say the probability that it's greater than 5.3 would be 13 over 24. All right, in this one, we have to complete the cumulative frequency table. So cumulative means you just keep adding on from the previous one. So for example, like we start off with 7. The next number is 18. So we add 18 and 7, we'll get a number here. And then whatever number you get here, you add that number to the 30. You'll get another number. Whatever number you get there, you add to the 29 and so on. You keep adding on. So I think they stopped at the third one. So we'll have to add 29 to the previous one. So 29 plus 55. That would give us 84. So we have 84 here. And then we add 84 to this 28. That would give us 112. So that's the 112 here. And then we add 8 to the 112, and that will give us 120. So at the end of any cumulative frequency, you should have what the total number of persons in the amount is. For example, we started off with 120 newborns. At the end of the cumulative frequency, you should have 120 as the last number. If you don't have 120, that means you added something wrong. And the last one for this one says use a diagram, estimate. Well, firstly, we gotta draw the cumulative frequency curve to show the information in the table BI. So this is BI, so we want to draw this as a cumulative frequency curve. So for the cumulative frequency, we typically use the upper boundaries, and the cumulative frequency. So these are all the I should say upper limit or upper boundary. Depends on let me see what they use. So I think they started off with some. So in this case, they use the upper boundary, well, the upper limit and the cumulative frequency. So we'll use the same thing. So they already started off with 3.5 and they got 7. 4.4, they got to 25. So 5.3 and they gone to 55. So 5.3. So if here is 5.5, 5.3 would be 2 before there. So 5.3 would be there. And then that goes all the way to 55. So we go all the way to 55. So here is 50. And here is 60. So 55 would be right in between there. And then says here a leaderboard. What is the leaderboard exactly? The board's not comment the most. So we have 6.2 and that goes to 84. So 6.5 is here, 6.4, 6.3, 6.2. That goes all the way to 84. So go all the way to 80 is here. 82, 84, 86. So 82, is it 82 or 84? I think it's 84, right? 84, and then the next one goes to 120. 7.1 to 120. So 7.1 would be like here, and that goes to 120. Sorry, not 120, that goes to 112. So that would be like right here. And then the last one, 8 goes to 120. So 8 should be here. That goes all the way to 120. And then we connect the cumulative frequency. It should come something like this. So we connect. And that is our cumulative frequency curve. All right, so we just gotta plot our graphs and it should come in an S. It should come in an S like that. It should come something like that. If it don't come something like this, you did something wrong. Check it back. Then it says use your graph to estimate the median. Now this part is crucial. So they want us to use the graph to estimate the median. So here's the thing. To estimate the median on this graph, we must first locate the middle value on this side. So the median mass, we must first, when they say median mass, whatever you do, your answer has to finish somewhere on the mass side because they want you to find the median mass. So mass is where you should finish. So what must we do? We must locate the middle number here. So we have 120 in total. And we know the middle of 120 or the median of 120 would be 60. So we go to 60, which is the middle number, and we draw a line straight across from 60. It should be this line here. And then as soon as we reach the graph, we draw a line straight down. A straight line straight down. And that will take us to the median mass. So the median mass here looks like, if this is 5.5, that looks like 5.4. So an estimate of the median mass would be 5.4 kg. So the median mass is not 60. 60 is where we use to estimate. So we draw a cross from 60 straight to the curve, and then we draw down to the mass to get the median mass. So remember, 60 represents the number of newborns. We can't use 60 kg. All right? So make sure you do that. So draw a cross and then down. All right? So that is that. All right, so we're moving on. I think my voice, I'm getting hoarse. So I'll now ask if anybody would like to tackle this one. I think Ram Narain, read the question and then tackle this one.
Yes, sir. In the diagram below, PQ is parallel to MN, LRT is an isosceles triangle, and SLT is a straight line. So since we see that PQ and MN are parallel and the line that is coming through ST is a transverse line. So that means that the angles formed, so here you can see at SP, that angle is a corresponding angle to an angle formed at MT. So we can name that angle angle Y at MT.
So you find it for X, right? So X would be here. So you're saying that this here is corresponding.
Yes.
So corresponding because these two, we have a parallel line here and we have a parallel line and this line cuts. So those two lines are corresponding. Excellent. So you say name it Y, all right.
Yes, we can name it Y. So in order to find for X, we can simply find for Y, and that would basically be the same thing. It would be equal. It would be equal. So as we know, L, as the question states, LRT is an isosceles triangle. So that means that the two base angles will therefore be equal. So we have only one known angle at R, which is 28 degrees Celsius. Sorry about that, 28 degrees. And so, yeah, so in order to find for the base angles, the interior angles of a triangle adds up to 180 degrees. So we're going to have 180 degrees minus 28 degrees. And that is going to give you 152 degrees. And then you just divide it by 2 because those are we're finding for the two base angles. And that is going to be equal to 76 degrees. So at L and at T, it is 76 degrees.
All right, pause there, Ramnarain. So this is 76, here's 76. So why is it 76? Because we have, and they said it's an isosceles triangle. So because it's an isosceles triangle, and the two, as Ramnarain rightly says, the two base angles in the isosceles, or two angles in the isosceles triangle will be equal. So because we know this one is 28, and the total number of degrees in a circle is 180, in a triangle is 180, we subtract the 28 from the 180, and that will give us 152. So 152 has to be shared among these two equal angles because they're equal. So that's how we end up with 76 and 76 because of that. Yes, Ramnarain, continue.
So now we look at the angle Y and 76 degrees. So as we know, the angle there for that straight line would therefore, the total angle would be 180 degrees. So if we know one side, which is 76 degrees, we just subtract that from 180 to find the value of angle Y. So when you subtract 76 degrees from 180 degrees, you're going to be getting 104 degrees.
So this one here, 104.
And since we established earlier that angle X and angle Y are corresponding and are therefore equal, that therefore means that angle X is also equal to 104 degrees.
All right. So because they're corresponding angles are equal. All right, so 104 degrees. All right, well done, Ramnarain. So one thing you want to pay attention to would be isosceles triangles. Always look out when they tell you about isosceles triangle. From the time you see any triangle is isosceles, they're telling you that in that triangle, two angles are equal. two angles and two sides are equal in an isosceles triangle. So be on the lookout for the word isosceles. They wouldn't tell you a triangle is isosceles because they feel like telling you the triangle is isosceles. They're telling you the triangle is isosceles because they want you to know that two angles in those triangles are equal. So that when you see isosceles, your mind should already be thinking, okay, two angles in this triangle would be equal. So that's where your mind should go from the time you see the word isosceles. And then, you use your other properties of angles and you'll find when we have a straight, always be on the lookout for straight angles as well. We have a straight line and we have a line cuts here. We know the total number of degrees on this thing here is 180. So if we know this piece here is 60, we know this piece here would be 60 plus something, give you 180. This piece is 120. It's always be on the lookout for straight angles and isosceles triangles. All right, so that is that 104. So we have this beautiful topic. I think we have left 854 students still on. How are you looking in the chat? Are you cooking or are you cooked? Let me use your jargon. How are you looking? Be honest. Based on what we did so far, do you think you'll have to come and relook at the video? I see Christian. Christian did not go as yet, so I'll take Christian. All right, so let me see. Cooking, love. I love it. Cooking, excellent. So Christian, the floor is yours. Read the question and take your time. Read the first one.
Yes, sir. Good night. The functions f and g are defined as follows. F of x is equal to fx plus 7, and g of x is equal to 3x subtract 1. For the function given above, determine g of 1/3. Alright, so first, what we have to do, we have to substitute. So we already know g of x is equal to 3x subtract 1. So we're substituting the x with 1/3.
So g of 1/3 is equal to
3 multiplied by 1/3, or 1/3, bracket subtract 1. Which is equal to, when you multiply 3 by 1/3, it will give you 1. Subtract 1, which will give you 0.
So g of 1/3 is equal to 0. G of 1/3 is equal to 0. All right. So that is that. So for functions, all you need to do in this case, they want you to find g of 1/3. Just do some substitution. Just substitute in the function g. Wherever you have x, you will put 1/3. So this is 3 times x. It will be replaced to 3 times 1/3. All right, Christian, you want to take a second one as well?
Sure, sir. F inverse of -3. So first, we have to find the inverse of x.
So let me write back the function f of x. So f of x is equal to 5x plus 7. Yeah, continue.
Sir, so first we have to switch out the f of x with y. So it will be y is equal to 5x plus 7. So after we finish that, we have to switch y's and x. So we're
Switch
going to
the
put
y and
x is equal to 5y plus 7. Now we have to make y the subject of the formula. So we are bringing over the 7. Since it's positive, it will be negative on the other side. So it's x minus 7 equals to 5y. So since y is multiplying, when it goes over, it will divide.
So the 5 multiply and we go over to the divide, so we'll have
X subtract 7 divided by 5 equals y. So since we now have, now we replace the y with f inverse of x, which is equal to x subtract 7 over 5. So now we have the f inverse of x. We now have to find we now have to substitute the value. Sir, and it's negative 3. See?
it's negative 3. Oh, negative 3. Yes, negative 3. Good. So f inverse of negative 3.
So we're using the formula x subtract 7 divided by 5. So where x is, replace it with negative 3. So it'll be negative 3 subtract 7 over 5. Negative 3 subtract 7 will give you negative 10 over 5. And when we divide it, we'll get negative 2.
All right, very good, very good, very good. So f inverse of negative 3 is equal to negative 2. All right. So inverse function, the first thing that you had to do was find the inverse function. And these are some steps that you have to remember. You change f of x to y, then you interchange the x and y values, and then the big man step, you make y the subject of the formula, and then you put back, then you replace y with the inverse function symbol. And in this case, they want us to take it a step further and find f inverse of negative 3. So we substitute negative 3 into the inverse function that we just found. All right, so this would go for like 2 marks. Some persons are asking. So you have to, this is very simple. You just have to know, practice the steps. All right. So we wrapping up. We wrapping up. We counting down. Who didn't go yet for the night? Go ahead. Read the question and then answer it for us.
The function f with domain a is equal to 1, 2, 3 is given by f of x is equal to half x minus 3. What is the value of f of 1? Okay, so to find the value of f of 1, we replace the x in half x minus 3 with 1. So then we'll have f of 1 is equal to half times 1 minus 3. So anything times 1 is equal to itself. So now we have half minus 3. And 1 half minus 3 is equal to negative 5 over 3 or negative 2.5. So f of 1 is equal to negative 2.5.
All right, as easy as that. 1 mark. Go ahead, second one.
Find the value of x for which f of x is equal to negative 2. So what this is telling us is it's telling us that half x minus 3 is equal to negative 2.
So let me write back f of x is equal, hold on, versus half x minus 3. Yeah, continue, sorry.
So since it's telling us that the end value is equal to negative 2, it's telling us that half x minus 3 is equal to negative 2.
Good.
Okay, so first we start substituting the values. So we'll take the -3 over the equal sign. So we can have -2 plus 3 is equal to half x. Then we will work for the -2 plus 3, and we'll have 1 is equal to half x. Then we take the half over the equal sign, and since it's multiplying here, it will be divided. So when it's taken over the equal sign, we'll have 1 divided by half is equal to x, and that will technically tell us that 1 multiplied by 2 over 1, which is 2, is equal to x. So x is equal to 2.
All right. Thank you, Perseus. All right. So
Yeah,
in this one here,
there's another
folks.
question. There's another question, sir. There's another question.
The other one?
There's another question. Yeah.
I just know, just all right. You don't know, doesn't. So, folks, this one is saying, as Perseus rightfully said, in this case, they did not tell us find f of -2. They told us f of x is equal to -2. So don't mix up and go and substitute -2 into the function. You have to replace f of x, the entire f of x, with -2, because that's what it told us. All right? And then you solve it as a normal equation to find the value of x. All right, so half x is the same as x over 2. So x over 2, this 2 is divided. When I take it over, it will multiply. So that's why the 2 multiplied here. All right, Berseus, last one.
Okay, sir. So this question reads, an ordered pair for the functions is expressed in the form AB. Using your answers to A1 and A2, or otherwise, list the ordered pairs for the function f. So in the initial part of the question, it tells us that the domain for the function is 1, 2, and 3. And so far, we have the x values for 1 and 2. So first, we find the value for f of 3.
Right, f of
So
3.
to find the value for f of 3, we substitute x in the equation for 3. So we'll have f of 3 is equal to half times 3 minus 3.
Hold on, let me just copy this here. Yeah.
Okay, so we find the half, we multiply half by 3, which will give us 3 over 2, which is also 1.5. So now we're left with 1.5 minus 3. So 1.5 minus 3, if you use a calculator, you'll get negative 1.5. So the value for f of 3 is negative 1.5. Now, since the 3x values for the function are 1, 2, and 3, we know the x values for the ordered pairs, and we also found for the y values. So the ordered pairs will be 1, negative 2.5, 2, negative 2, and 3, negative 1.5.
All right. So, in other words, folks, excellently done, Berseus. So in other words, all we had to do was substitute these values for x into this function, here to find the ordered pairs. All we had to do was substitute these one at a time to find for the ordered pair. We already substituted 1 when we worked out this one. So we can say the x value for this here would be 1. And the value that we get here would be the y value. So this is negative 2.5. That will be the first one. And then in this case, they told us that f of x is equal to y. Now, f of x is the same thing as y. So this is telling you y is equal to -2. So f of x is equal to -2 is the same as y is equal to -2. When we work this out, whatever we get f of x as, that is the value of y. So if y is equal to -2 and we found x is equal to +2, this ordered pair would be 2 and -2. And then all we had to do, as Bracia says, we had to find the last one, which is 3. So we substituted 3 into the function. And this value that we got here would be the y value. So that's where we end up with 3 and -1.5. All right. Two marks. So the last one that we have for the night, which Paris will take us through this one. Paris, I see two hands. Let me see Paris and Paris. So the last one for the night, and then we'll have a brief talk, and then we'll call it. So Paris, go ahead.
So good night, everyone. The question says, study the pattern of numbers in each row of the table below. Each row relates to one of the figures in the sequence of figures on page 22. Some rows have not been included in the table. Complete the rows numbered I, and I. So the first thing we have to do is to look at each row individually. Now, in figure 1, or in the figure row, it's represented by the n value and it goes up by 1 each time. So 1, 2, 3 keeps going up by 1. In our squared row, or s value, it keeps going up by 2. And in our parameter, or our p value, it keeps going up by 4. So the easiest thing to do for a question like this is to find the formula first, which we can just plug into question I, or 3. So to find the formula for our squares, or s, we represent it at 2n first, which is 2 times our figure. And this is being the number of times it goes up. 2 is being the number of times it goes up, and n is our figure. So 2n. Let's test it on figure 1. So 2 times 1 would give us 2. But as we can see, that doesn't equal to 3. So what can we add to 2 to get 3? We can add 1. So therefore, our formula would be 2n plus 1 in terms of s. Now our next formula, which is for p.
Let's try it on the others and see if it works out, Paris.
Okay. So we could try on figure 2. If we times figure 2 by 2, which is 2 times 2, which will give us 4, and add 1, we get 4 plus 1, which would give us 5. So we could see that our formula is legit. Now, moving on to our next formula, which is the parameter of the figure, or p. We started off by using 4n, 4 being the number of times it goes up, and n being our figure value. So let's try with figure 1 again. 4 times 1 would give us 4, but we need 8. What can we add 4 to get 8? We can add 4. So our formula, therefore, would be 4n plus 4. And we could test it on figure 2. So we could times 2 by 4. And then add 1. Which would give us, add 4, sorry. Which would give us 8 plus 4. And that would be 12. Moving on to question I. We input our formula for s, which is 2n plus 1. So 2 times the n value, which is 4, plus 1. That will give us 8 plus 1, which is 9. So s value is 9. Next.
Take a pause here, Paris. All right. Yeah. So let's say, we didn't figure out the formula. All we could have done, a nice and easy thing to do, we saw that we just keep adding 2 and we add 2. How we have to do for this one, we can just add 2. And that is how we get the 9, right? If we didn't figure out our formula. But the formula is a key thing to figure out though. Yes, Paris, sorry, continue.
Yeah, and just plug in the formula for perimeter and do the same thing. So it will be 4 times 4 plus 1, which is 16 plus 4, which will give us 20.
20.
And now for our question II, they gave us the S value, but they didn't give us the figure. So all we have to do is some simple transposition. So we use the formula 2n plus 1 is equal to 43 because we already found S. And we just have to transpose. So we carry over the 1 to our next to our 4. So that would be 2n is equal to 4 minus 1. 43 minus 1, sorry, 43 minus 1. 2n is equal to 42. And then we transpose the 2. So that will be n is equal to 42 divided by 2. N is equal to 21. Then that's the value for our figure n. So we plug that into our question II, 21. Great. So once we do that, we could find the last thing, which is the perimeter of the P. We just plug in our same formula, 4n plus 4. So 4 times 21, which was the n we found just now, plus 4 is equal to P. And that will give us 84 plus 4 is equal to P, which would give us
84 plus 4.
is equal to P, which would give us 88 is equal to P. And so our answer for P would be 88. Yeah, that's all.
All right, well done, well done, well done, well done. So, well done. So here's the thing, folks. I'll leave you with this little tip. So this question is most times these questions are worth 6 marks. What usually the minimum amount of marks that you should be getting would be 4, right? Why 4? Because with these two, you can do trial and error until you get the answer, right? If you don't figure out the formula for some reason, you can do trial and error until you get these here. Like for example, when we started off here, we see we move from 1 to 3. Then we move from 2 to 5, and then we move from 3 to 7. But also we see the pattern that as we go down, we're adding 2. So you should already know that this is 9. You should already know that this is 20 because we keep adding 4. And then we see we have 4 to 3 here. And one thing I would say, this is for the folks that will be struggling, right? If you're struggling and you know, I would say try do some trial and error until you get 4 to 3 here. All right, do some trial and error. Don't leave this question without getting these 4 marks. And then, you know, you work on the last one. You try to figure out the formula, but the least you should be getting would be 4. 4 is better than getting 0. All right, but a nice and easy way to figure out the formula, as Paris said, we see we keep increasing by 2. So we can multiply this by 2, then 1 times 2, and then we see we have to add it to this here to get the 3, so we see we add 1. So we try that for all, and it will hold. And the same thing here, we see we keep increasing by 4. So we multiply the figure by 4, and then we see that did not take us to here, so we added 4. So you multiply by something and you add by something. All right? So, but as I said, you should not leave with anything less than those marks. I think that covers most of the questions on the exam. And I trust we had some tricks. So I trust that. So here's the thing. I have some other questions. You can look back at last year live. That is still valuable information. Look back at last year live. And also if you want to look back at this live will be posted as soon as we come off here. All right. So I trust that this live was beneficial to you. I trust that you learned. I trust that you learned I trust that you learned something today and you're in a better position before you started the live. So before we go, let me just let folks, everybody in here, you're preparing for your tests. If you had to leave as a student preparing, if you had to leave one tip with the students looking at the live, what tip can you use? Now you think as a student, from a student's perspective, what do you think can help them to better their preparation for CSEC math? Anybody can unmute and go.
Sir, I would say practice a lot of past paper 1 and past paper 2.
Practice. So Christian is saying that you practice lots of part. No, that is a cheat code, right? That is a cheat code for CSEC. If you're not practicing paper ones, then I don't know what you're doing. You don't want it. You genuinely don't want to pass. I would like to think if you're not practicing paper ones, right? You don't want to pass. That's the only conclusion I can draw if you're not practicing paper ones. And also you want to be practicing paper twos as well. All right. Excellent advice, Christian. Any other advice from any one of our students who work with us? Anybody else would like to leave any tip? All right, so my tip for you, I would just like to double down on what Christian said. Practice lots of paper ones. And do your practice on paper twos as well. And go to YouTube. YouTube should be your best friend. You have lots of resources here. So we'll come back live. So let me ask, was it beneficial if folks are saying just on Kenson, give me 1 second. Say
Okay.
folks, if you're saying this is beneficial, we'll come back again before CXC if you learn something new. If not, we'll continue our preparation of YouTube. Yes, Kenson, let me hear a tip.
Yes, sir. My tip would be to identify a particular topic in maths that, you're not good in. And literally work the hell out of it.
All right, excellent.
Because sir, the help me too, because I wasn't so good in functions and consumer arithmetic, but then and also bearings. But then I went to the past paper, the symbol that you compile, and I work each and every single question I had under the topic. And now I absolutely love functions, consumer arithmetic, and bearings.
All right, so as Kenson said, if you identify a weak area, then the smart thing to do is, as Kenson said, work the heck out of it, all right? Work the heck out of it. Don't just say, oh, I don't understand functions. And that is it. I don't understand functions. Functions can't try it. So you have to identify your weak areas and work towards it, right? Don't just sit back and hope that the function knowledge will fall in your head automatically and you'll go in the exam and do excellent. So I see Adir
Sir,
has a tip.
Sir,
copy.
all right.
Adir and then Amber.
Yes, sir. So what I used to do, what I used to do is when I didn't understand a past paper, I would usually go on YouTube and like look up past paper videos, and work through them along with the person, and I get to understand it better. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well said, Daniel. Daniel, Adir, my bad. Amber.
Mm, hi. Yeah, I just want to put in a little two-piece. Um, Mental and physical care. Um, Getting enough sleep before exams is amazing. It's good for you. Cramming all night hurts more than it helps. Eat properly, drink water, because your brain needs the fuel. If anxiety hits, like for me, just hit pause, breathe, and start with the easier questions. If a question is taking too long, then skip it and come back to it because you don't have whole year. And with that said, hope with that said, hope good luck. Bye bye.
All right, well said, Amber. So Amber gave you drop some diamonds here. Don't waste too much time on one question. That one question. Sometimes here's the thing. Make sense out of nonsense. Sometimes you spend half an hour on a question and you don't know if you'll get it correct. And then you spend half hour on something that you don't know. And then you have something at number 9 that you can get 10 marks from or 6 marks from, and you waste time on 0 marks. So don't schedule a time. Don't waste time on a question that you don't know. I see Brandon, and then I'll take Maya, and then people are asking Daniel. Daniel, what is it? All right, so go ahead in that order. Brandon and then Maya.
So one thing a lot of students struggle with is that they try to learn everything one time. And my advice to you is to take your time. Yes, the exam isn't too far away, but it's not too close either. Sorry, it's not too far, it's not too close at the same way. So you just take your time. Every night you go to bed, like take half hour or wake up early and take a half hour. Go through these questions, practice and practice. And another thing too is don't try to just take it all in one time. You go topic by topic until you're very sure you got this topic covered. Well, then you move on to the next one. And when you're finished, to test yourself, you go to the past paper and you see and apply your knowledge there. So right away, you know, oh, well, I got this one wrong, so I need to go back to this and see if I get it or not. So, like I said, the exam isn't too far, it isn't too close either. You just take your time, and when that time meets, you'll be fine. And good luck to everyone writing the exam. And yeah, that's it.
All right, well said, Brandon. Well said. Take it time. Take it one topic, one question at a time in your preparation. Don't try to learn everything. You can't learn everything. That's the reality. You can't learn everything. Um, take it a chunk at a time. Maya,
Okay, good night, everyone, again. I would say you can take this advice for CSEC and the upcoming mock exam is don't skip a question. Even if you don't know the answers to the question, use common sense. Just try to make sense of the question and work it. You never know, you might get it correct or you might get a half mark or a mark for the question. And also for CSEC, focus on paper one just as much as you focus on paper two because the questions tend to come back a lot. And also, if you have an exam the next day, you might not get time to go over it as much as you would or would like to. So also focus on paper one because it's important.
so Maya is dropping some diamonds there. You're in the CXE rush. You may not get to study as you want. So start practicing the paper ones from now. All right. Anybody else before we ask Danielle? People are saying they want
That's
Paris. Where's Paris? Paris is still here? Oh yes, Paris is still here.
sorry, what?
All right, go ahead, Kenson.
Yes, sir. I just also studied during this in school. If you know, sometimes it get hard and you're feeling stressed out. I still and just think about the time when the checking the results and I see the nice grade one.
Yeah. Think about the end goal. Think about the end goal, right? Keep the end goal in mind when you feel tired, when you feel like browsing TikTok whole day or whole night. Think about the end goal. Every scroll that you take, think about you're losing 1 mark with every scroll, unless you're scrolling through maths videos and so on. If you're not scrolling through math videos, think about that poor grade. All right. Um, is Daniel still here? Daniel and Paris, right?
For Paris first. Paris first.
All right, Daniel. The people say they want Daniel. All right, Daniel. The thing is, Daniel looks like a YouTube maths teacher. He has the look and he has the attitude and he has the words and the vocabulary and everything for a YouTube math teacher. So Daniel I've been around Daniel for a while. I've been teaching Daniel for a while, and he has that YouTube math teacher mentality. So go ahead, Daniel, and then we'll call it George, and I'll see everybody back on the next live.
I have no clue what to say. What I did though, right? I don't know if it will be beneficial to anybody, right? But what I did was, um, really and truly, I never liked math before, right? But after an exam, I can't remember what exam it was, but after an exam, right? I did bad. So, sir, you put the phone down.
Are you talking about the memories?
After I did bad, right? I went on the internet, right, and I separated every single day. Like every day was for a topic. Like not every day, every week was a topic. So one week trigonometry, the other week this, the other week that, and then when I go to the other week, when I finished the second week, I went back to the first week. So I didn't just do 1 week, learn one thing, go to the next week, and then forsake it and say I know it for the exam. We don't play like we know everything, right? You have to go back or else you will forget. That's what I say. No, I go in because I hungry.
All right, so well done. So here's the thing. I want everybody. I think this is the slang for kids. I want y'all give I don't know W's for whatever I would say for everybody on the live here. They are all very brave. When I was their age, which is about 3 years ago, I could not have been so brave. Why you said yeah, yeah, I can't pass y'all age 3 years. Anyways, when I was their age, I could not have even dreamt about coming live and doing mathematics to students around Guyana. I saw some persons outside of Guyana as well. And that takes lots of bravery, and they've all done so excellently. Excellent, excellent. So W's for everybody, or whatever the kids say these days. So until then, take care, keep practicing. Best of luck in your exam. These are for my students on the chat and also everybody looking on. Best of luck for your exam on Monday. Take your time, look over, and don't leave anything blank in paper one. Man, if you leave anything blank in paper one, then you deserve to do poorly, man. You shouldn't be leaving anything blank. If you circle, if you guess an answer, you got a 25% chance of getting it correct. If you leave it blank, you have 0% chance of getting it correct. So it's 25 is better than zero. So take care, and I will see y'all sometime again whenever we come again. All right, my students, please stay on after I end the stream. My dad don't leave. So